Hi, good evening, everyone. Uh, just going to wait for everyone to join us. There's still some people coming in, and we will get going as soon as possible. I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to on this sweltering evening. So thank you very, very much for joining us. Uh, those of you, well, even if you do know me, hello again. If you've not met me before, I am Laura Piercy. I'm the Associate Director of LaSWAP. Part of my role is around pathways, around careers, around university and UCAS, and apprenticeships, which I'm going to talk about this evening, are obviously a part of that. So if you are a year 13 parent, if you attended this session last year, it is very similar, just so you know from the off. If you are a year 12 parent, then hello, this is all brand new. Um, I so this evening's webinar is going to be focused on apprenticeships. I'm going to talk a tiny little bit about other post-18 pathways, but not very much. It is going to be very apprenticeship focused. Um, there will be a bit of time at the end for a Q&A. If you want to ask a question, please put it in the Q&A, type it in the Q&A section. You can find that by just hovering your cursor over the screen. It will either show up at the bottom. If it doesn't, click on the three dots that say more, and it should appear in there. And I will run through the presentation, and then I'll answer the questions at the end. So I hope that is okay. So we will, as I say, I don't want to keep forever. So let's get going. Okay, as I said, we are going to focus on apprenticeships this evening. So I'm going to, like all these webinars, I'm really going to start at the very, very beginning because people have completely different sort of ranges of knowledge about this. So I tend to start at the beginning and hope that that means that everyone can catch up and everybody knows what is going on. So after the end of year 13, students obviously have a choice very, very similar to the end of year 11, but an even bigger choice in many ways, because rather than thinking about the next steps of their education, usually they're thinking about what they're going to do in terms of the rest of their life. It is quite a big decision. So we have three kind of rough categories, three rough areas that our students can go into. They can either go into academic study, carry on, listen to like a degree or further education. They can go into work, or they can do a kind of mix of both, which is the main thing that I'm talking about this evening. So occupational study, like apprenticeships. So there are three different people three different places that they can really end up being. They can either end up being going on to an FE college, and doing another kind of qualification. They can go on to a university and do a foundation, a degree with a foundation year, something like that. Or they go into the care of an employer through work, through an apprenticeship. Through an apprenticeship, they obviously still have links to academic study because all apprenticeships must come with some kind of course attached, as I'll talk about this evening. But it really is, we really need to think about an apprenticeship as a job. It isn't a piece of study. It's not an extension of an academic career. It is a full-time job with an employer. So to give it a little bit of context, well, in our own context at LaSWAP, about 75% of LaSWAP students go to university straight after year 13. More than 75% of LaSWAP students go to university overall. It's just that we have a significant number who take a gap year. When we add those in, it is, I don't know exactly because we'd never really put it together, but it's probably closer to 85%, if not more, of our students end up at university at some point. So it is by far the most popular destination for the SWAP students. We have a small but significant number who go on to another further education institution. The most common one is an art foundation course, but we have students who go and often do other things as well. We have an increasing number of students who take a gap year with the intention of going to university. Sometimes they choose not to, they choose to carry on and do something else, but a lot of the time they take a gap year, they come back to us during that gap year and we help them with their university application. Or we have, of course, our focus for this evening, the apprenticeship a full-time job that includes training. And we have actually, from LaSWAP, a very small number of students, a tiny handful, who just go directly into work. To give you a little bit of context, just a little bit of key dates context, then you probably know these already. But when we're talking about university, so UCAS applications through university, the deadline for that, if you're a year 12 parent, is January 2027, Wednesday, the 13th of January. Our internal deadline at LaSWAP is in the beginning of December to account for the break over the winter holiday. And if your young person is thinking of Oxford, Cambridge, or medicine, then their deadline is even earlier. And the reason I bring this up is because there is no deadline like this for apprenticeship applications. There is unfortunately no UCAS for apprenticeships. There is no centralized hub. There is no way of applying for multiple apprenticeships at once. There is no key or shared deadline. So if you are a young person, or you're looking after a young person who is going to apply for an apprenticeship, the first thing that we need to establish is that each one is an independent application. And so we need to be really careful when we look at deadlines to make sure that we meet them. So very quick overview then at the beginning of what apprenticeships are. They are a full-time combination of work and study, but the emphasis is on the work rather than the study here. Apprenticeships come in different levels, which tells you how complex, how long, how advanced they are, and how high level the qualification is that comes alongside that apprenticeship. So we are going to be mainly dealing with either higher and advanced apprenticeships, which are level 3 and level 4. So these are apprenticeships that are either equivalent to A levels, or a level 3 BTEC, or a T level, or just slightly above. There is a level 5 apprenticeship, but they're vanishingly rare. So then we sort of jump really straight to a degree level apprenticeship, which is called level 6 apprenticeship. These are the ones that get the most kind of airtime, I will say, the most discussion, because these are apprenticeships that include an undergraduate degree. So you study for your degree alongside work. Apprenticeships are available in a range of sectors, which we'll talk about in quite a bit of detail, but it's key to remember that not all sectors, not all types of jobs offer apprenticeships. So there are some career pathways where apprenticeships are just completely unsuited because they just don't really exist. This is a really key website that has just come up on the screen here. This government website. If you type government apprenticeships into Google, it will be the first thing that comes up. It's not very attractive, but it is quite easy to use, and it is a sort of hub where most apprenticeships are listed through this government website, and you can sign up for alerts through this website as well. So you can say, tell me when an apprenticeship comes up within 5 miles of me, or tell me when an apprenticeship comes up in digital marketing or whatever, and it will then ping you alerts. So that's a really helpful thing to do, both at this stage when you're trying to find out a little bit more about what kinds of apprenticeships are available, and obviously later on when you're going to apply, because you need access to, you need to be informed about as many apprenticeships as possible. So as I've already said, it is a job with training included rather than training with a job. That's the emphasis is that way around. It is a real job, I put in inverted commas there, has a full contract of employment. You are an employee of that business. It is full-time. It will be a minimum of 30 hours a week. It's usually longer. Depends obviously on the role. It usually will be office hour, whatever hours that company normally operates, you will be working those hours. So if it's an office job, of course, you'll be working the office hours. If it is a retail apprenticeship, you might be working slightly different hours. There might be weekends involved. Same if you're doing a more traditional trade style apprenticeship, then you should be expecting to work weekends. As part of that, you will often get study weeks or study days where you do the qualification side of the apprenticeship. So again, it varies depending on the employer and the structure of the particular apprenticeship. Some of them do it where you work 4 days, have a 5th day off, go to college or uni. More common is that you'll do, say, a couple of months full time, and then you'll have a week where you go off to university kind of for that week and have a week of lectures and whatever, and then you go back to work. But you do have to bear in mind that you will be expected to do work on your own, in your own time, at home. So that is part and parcel of the apprenticeship. As I said, it is a specific job, so it's in a specific sector and it's for a specific employer, including a sector-specific qualification. So you can't do an apprenticeship in an academic subject. You can't do an apprenticeship in history. You can't do an apprenticeship in something general like marketing. It has to be a specific role for a particular company. And the contract that you have as part of your apprenticeship will usually last between 1 and 6 years. Lower level apprenticeships tend to last for less time. The higher level it is, so a degree level apprenticeship, you should be expecting to be there for 5 years or so. Because you are working as well as doing your degree. It's a part-time degree essentially, so you are going to be committed for quite a long time. So, as I just said, your degree level apprenticeship, combined work and study over 5 years. Level 3, level 4, as I said before, so these are your A-level similar equivalent apprenticeships, will usually run from 12 to 18 months. So if you are thinking of an apprenticeship, you're considering an apprenticeship, but you're not ready to commit for 5 years, then it can be worth doing a level 3 or level 4 apprenticeship. It can be worth you doing get a sector specific qualification, see if that sector is right for you. If that is somewhere that you want to work in, you can always, after that, get a job, go to university, do something else. The reason that degree apprenticeships, of course, have been such a big hit, are very popular, is because you are getting a degree, but you are not paying any fees. So you pay no tuition fees. You obviously pay no. You also don't. So you don't take a loan for your tuition fees. You don't pay any. You're being paid a wage, so you don't need a maintenance loan to live on. So you are working, you are earning, but you are also getting a degree essentially for free alongside your job, which you're being paid to do. You can go if you do the level 3 and level 4 or level 4 apprenticeship. That doesn't block you from going to university. You can go to university afterwards. You can do another apprenticeship sometimes. You can go into full-time work. And I think the key thing that's going to come up again and again this evening is this: that overall apprenticeships are competitive. They really are. And the more exclusive the apprenticeship, generally the better known the employer. The fewer apprenticeships they are, the more competitive they are. So a degree apprenticeship or any apprenticeship at somewhere like Google or any degree apprenticeship is generally going to be harder to get than a place at Oxbridge, because often there is only one or a tiny handful available. So they are quite restrictive and extremely competitive. And the process in terms of securing an apprenticeship can be quite lengthy and quite tricky. So it is something that you need to be prepared for. Something I'll talk about a bit more is that although there do sometimes seem to be a lot of apprenticeships around, apprenticeships aren't ring fenced for young people. Apprenticeships aren't saved for 18-year-olds or for school leavers. And actually, you'll see when we look at some statistics that the vast majority of apprenticeships go to people who are older. So there is a lot of competition around for apprenticeships. Here is a very quick snapshot, a very quick overview of those different levels of apprenticeships that I was just talking about there. If you want the slides for this, by the way, so I should have said at the beginning, my email address is at the end. Feel free to email me so you don't have to take notes or sort of screenshot or photograph things as we go. So the lowest level, there is a level lower than this, an entry level, but we're all at a point where we're more qualified than that. So the lowest one we'll talk about is level 2, intermediate. You usually need about 2 GCSEs to start one of these. It's very much a very, very beginner, like a dip into a toe in the industry. Level 3, we just talked about, A-level equivalent, good for if you wanted to develop work-based skills. Don't think about this as a sidestep, by the way. I think when I talk about level 3 apprenticeships with some people, they say, "Oh, but I've got I'm going to have my A levels, or I'm going to have my level 3 BTEC, so this is it's doubling up." It's not, because the qualification you're going to get is going to be very specific, and it does give you that ability to break into an industry. So don't think about it as a sidestep. Think about it as a kind of switch from academic learning to workplace learning. So level 5, there are so few around, it's not really worth discussing. And the next one up really is those degree level ones. So often very competitive. They're often quite well paid, and they are, because of often quite limited. And so because of that, there are lots of people who want them, understandably. So if you are thinking about an apprenticeship, one other than being prepared for the time it takes and knowing that it's going to be quite a lot of effort to apply for them, the next thing you need to think about is, do I want to work in a sector that has apprenticeships? Because they are, although there are several sectors that offer them, they tend to be concentrated. So business and admin, and legal services, actually, about 75% of all apprenticeships that are offered are in this sector. So there, although, as I say, there are, when you look at the number of apprenticeships per year, there are hundreds of thousands, but they are quite concentrated in this area. So business admin, legal services, not being a lawyer, but in legal services. There are also quite a lot of apprenticeships around health and public services, which are mainly social care and early years education, engineering and manufacturing, digital tech, and construction. So these are the kind of main areas. I'll show you a graph in a minute that shows all those. As it says there, sorry, as well, most apprenticeships are not in STEM areas, they're in other areas. And the sectors with very few apprenticeships, so essentially none, are science and maths, social sciences, so things like psychology, animal care, or arts, media, and publishing. So if you are thinking of a career in one of these sectors, there are vanishingly few apprenticeships. There are a couple, but it really is a tiny number. So if you are wanting to work in one of these areas, then there are other routes that are better than an apprenticeship route. To contextualize this, in 2024-25, which is the last full year that we've got stats for, over 100,000 people started a business admin or legal apprenticeship. 1,500 people started an arts or media apprenticeship. So it is a hugely different situation. As I said, it's not that there are none, but there are very many. Here's our graph that shows us our quite clearly sort of STEM start. So as we say at the top here, business admin and law, we've got over 100,000 people there, lovely. And then down at the bottom there, social sciences, essentially none, which it won't surprise you. And again, this tiny number for arts, media, and publishing. This year, agriculture, horticulture, and animal care. These sort of 8,000 or so are mainly in agriculture. There are pretty much none in animal care. Unfortunately, as we could probably establish from the sectors that we've looked at here, sectors that are very popular tend to not have very many apprenticeships. So media, as in animal care, things like that, things that are sectors that are very much in demand. And this is partly, unfortunately, because those sectors can offer and do offer unpaid internships that people do take. They have a kind of a legacy, a history of the way into those careers being via unpaid internships, which is, for many reasons, extremely unfair. But it's meant that they haven't converted those into paid apprenticeships. So there just aren't many of those paid opportunities in that area. It's frustrating as it is. So in 2024-25, there were about, let's say, 630,000, just to round it up, students aged 16 to 18 who were finishing their studies. And that year, 350,000 people started an apprenticeship, but only 75,000 of those were aged under 18. And those that were school leavers, there was only sort of 12%, 21% aged under 19. To contextualize, about 26% of school leavers go on to a Russell Group university, what we're seeing as some of the most competitive universities. So an apprenticeship is a difficult route. And as you can see, again, in some more lovely graphs here, we've got that 1 in 6 apprenticeships actually go to people who've already got a degree, because you're not restricted from doing an apprenticeship if you already have a degree. And apprenticeship starts are, as you can see, mainly people who are 25 and older, so career changes. So it is a difficult landscape for our young people. It is a difficult thing for them to be going into. Um, it's not all doom and gloom, though. They are out there, and especially if you do want to work in those sectors that have a lot of apprenticeships, they can be brilliant. They are a really, really good way of establishing yourself if you are in the right position and apprenticeship is the right thing for you. So, a few questions to think about. Do you want to work full time every day? Are you happy to work with adults? Are you happy to have the normal amount of holiday that adults get as part of a full-time job? In terms of you as well, do you take feedback well? Are you resilient? Can you handle rejection and criticism? Because you will have to apply for multiple of these before you get one. Um, Most people doing an apprenticeship, especially if you're doing a level 3 apprenticeship, live at home because level 3 apprenticeships aren't particularly well paid. So that is obviously something to factor in as well. Like, can you live at home? Do you want to live at home while you get yourself established? Are you done with full-time education? Have you had enough? And do you know specifically what you want to do for a career? Because, as I've said, an apprenticeship is not something to go into if you're a generalist or you're not sure what you want to do next. It is a very specific route. Loads of benefits there. Absolutely loads of benefits if this suits you, if this is the right thing for you. So, training and a wage at the same time. Obviously, that is the big one for most people. You get paid from the beginning. There is a range of sectors to work in. You get straight into work. If you are done with education, then it is a way of getting straight into work, but still building skills that you're gonna need in the future. The training you will get will be practical. It will be on the job with the small amount that is the qualification in the classroom or college. Most of what you learn will be taught to you by people that you're working with. The skills will be super up to date. The knowledge will be super up to date because the people are using it every day. Um, you generally have really good access to jobs afterwards. You're not guaranteed a job after an apprenticeship. It's not that you sort of graduate from your apprenticeship into a role, but uh, you will get really good sort of networking opportunities. You will know the people that are offering these roles. You will understand the job, so it puts you in a really good position. You will be, and this can be an absolute sort of brilliant one for people. You are ahead of your peers in terms of experience. So while your peers are at university doing 3 years of sort of academic based learning, you are going to be you're going to be in the workplace doing that learning, and you've only got to look at something like AI at the minute. Obviously AI is huge, but look at the way that the use of AI has changed, even I would say the last year, even in the last few months. To know that what you're being taught in a classroom is not and cannot keep pace in the same way with what is actually going on in the workplace. So there is the huge, huge benefit there that you are getting that experience. And of course, if you go for a degree one as well, you won't have any debt. You will actually have money because you're earning money. You won't be graduating with debt. However, and I've already talked about some of these, so I'm not going to dwell on them too much, but it's not as easy as saying, oh, great, I want to do an apprenticeship and, sort of walking into one. University is often a bit of a cushion between being a student, being at school, being in sixth form, and sort of living in the real world. An apprenticeship, you don't get that. You don't get to skip your 9 a.m. lecture. Your employers will expect hard work and professional standards all the time, and they can sack you. The hours are much longer than education. You get a lot fewer holidays. You have to be a self manager. You've got to turn up on time. You've got to follow instructions. You've obviously got to do what you're told. From the application point, then, from actually trying to get an apprenticeship, as I said at the top of the presentation, all these applications are individual. They can be time consuming, they can be lengthy, they're competitive. You will be rejected several times before you get one. We've supported quite a few students through LaSWAP now, applying for apprenticeships, and I don't know anyone yet who's got the first one they've gone for. So I would say just expect that it's going to take a little bit of time. The placements, as I said, are extremely specific. They're quite narrow in scope because it is a job. So if that does not suit you, then it's not the best thing for you. And just as a reminder, just because sometimes people don't quite realize this, you do pay tax and national insurance on your earnings because it is a job. So you will be taxed like everybody else, unfortunately. And some sectors don't have that. So after all my doom and glooming, if you do want to find an apprenticeship, how do you go about it? So obviously, sign up for keyword alerts with the government apprenticeships website, which I talked about earlier, and also do your research. Look directly at sectors and businesses that you are interested in. So if you're thinking about the civil service, go straight to the civil service, go to their jobs page and sign up for their apprenticeship alerts. If anywhere, sign up for as many as you can and obviously use an email address that you're going to check, and apply for them as soon as they come out. Check Find Apprenticeships regularly to see what kinds of things are available, hours, wage, duration, so on and so forth. So do that before you apply, so you're getting an idea of what is out there and what you want to apply for. Check the start dates carefully. Because there's no UCAS for apprenticeships, there's no standardized apprenticeship timetable like there is with the university. So apprenticeships can start at any time during the year. So obviously, I've just said apply for as many as you can, but obviously if you're currently in year 12, don't apply for an apprenticeship that starts in January 2027 because you're still at school, so you can't start it. So you may find that if you start researching now, everything that comes up is going to be too early a start for you to apply for, but you should still be reading the job spec, looking at what the application involves, getting ahead, doing some practice. Apply for things even if they aren't perfect on paper, because it will be unlikely that your perfect thing will come along. And treat applications like homework or like a job in and of itself. So say, if you are going to be an apprenticeship applicant, I am going to dedicate this number of hours per week to my apprenticeship application. Go into Monday tutorial, go to Monday period 3, treat that as part of your dedicated application time. Use your tutor, get them to proofread stuff, get them to look through jobs with you. Speak to whoever is your careers advisor at your base school. It's me if you're at Burley, it's other people if you're elsewhere, and get there and ask them to help you out. You will have to work on this independently because it's really hard. We can't, in the way that, so UCAS, those of you'll have been in, you went to Futures Day, you'll have been in Monday period 3, you know that your tutor can put a presentation up the board and on the board and be like, right, everyone log on to UCAS, everyone do this bit, everyone do this bit, because it's exactly the same. Everyone's doing the same thing. Apprenticeships are not like that. Every single one is individualized and unique. So we can't deliver a session like that. You have to start it independently and then come to us and tell us, because otherwise we don't know that you're applying for it and we can't help you out. There's that lovely website again, Find Apprenticeship. The process, the application process. Now, I've said there's no UCAS for apprenticeships, but they are working on it. So you can actually use, oddly, the UCAS website now to apply for some apprenticeships. And it works, it looks the same as normal UCAS. So it's laid out in quite a nice user-friendly way. You can filter it and search it. Obviously, it takes you through to the page to apply, but you can favorite them and keep them in your UCAS hub in the same way you can with universities. So that is quite handy. If you use Unifrog in your school, Unifrog has an apprenticeship search function as well, so you can also use that. And you can save you make shortlists and save favorites and things in there. The process can take several months, and you can be rejected at any stage of the process. So there will be cut-off points at each stage where they sort of don't progress people. So the first step is usually going to be an application form and some kind of cover letter. That can take different formats. It can be answers to questions, it can be a traditional cover letter, but the first stage is usually fill in an application form and tell us why you want this job in some format. There will then usually be, they will filter there and they will invite people to some kind of online task, assessment. That might be online, they might send you a link to do it, or they might even invite you into an assessment centre to go and do it in person. There's then usually some kind of remote interview, not always, but often either through something like Teams or Zoom, or sometimes even on the phone, like old fashioned. And then there is usually at the end some kind of in-person interview. Sometimes there's another assessment at that stage. Sometimes there's another assessments in between. Sometimes these are the other way around. This isn't a kind of formula. It's just these are the kind of things that you can be expected to do. And at each point, as I say, they will not progress people. That in-person interview at the end can be with other candidates, it can be on your own, it can be with a panel of people, it can be with one person, it can be multiple small interviews. Again, it can come in all shapes and sizes. So when you are preparing for an application, lots and lots of research is the first way forward. Of course, you are not going to go to an interview or go into an application where you don't know anything about the company or about the job that you're applying for, or about what to do. So UCAS and apprenticeships.gov.uk have some nice, helpful, generic advice, but you will also need to do your own individual research into the job that you are applying for. The assessment bit is the bit that's often a little bit nerve-wracking. If you were at Futures Day, if you managed to get into our very oversubscribed apprenticeship application assessment workshop at Futures Day, we went through some of these. But these often cover, again, the assessment isn't going to be specifically about that job. They're not going to ask you questions about, PricewaterhouseCoopers or whatever. It is going to be a kind of a different kind of assessment. So they are often, again, depending on the role, you can expect numerical reasoning. You can definitely expect verbal reasoning. So read this text and answer these questions about what you've just read. Situational judgment tests are really common. So, you're working with this colleague, they've done this, what would you do in this scenario? And they are usually multiple choice. In-tray exercises or email exercises, inbox exercises are again really common. So here's a load of stuff that you've got in your inbox, prioritize these, respond to the one that's the most important. And there are sometimes as well kind of gamification assessments, so puzzles, spatial awareness stuff, word association. It really depends on the role as to what comes up here. So the way to get good at them is to do them, is to actually have a practice at them. So again, please do email me if you want this PowerPoint. These links here are all to practice exemplars of all these different kind of assessments, and you can go through these in your own time. There are quite a few here, and until you get the hang of it. They're very much a getting the hang of it thing. Some of them are similar to not like IQ tests, but similar in that there's a way of approaching the questions. So again, obviously, never go into one of these cold. Never turn up at an interview having never done this sort of thing before. It's something that you need to get the hang of before you turn up to interviews. If and when you do get an interview, please tell us. please tell us, because we can help you. We can offer mock interviews, we can offer feedback. We've got networks of volunteers who support us that can help us out. So please tell us, and please don't just rock up at your interview unprepared, because you might smash it, but chances are you would do better if you had a little bit of prep beforehand. So how do you decide what to do now? You're sitting at the end of year 12, you're sitting at the end of 13. What do I do? So my advice, my first piece of advice is, even if you're not thinking about going to uni, please go to a university open day. Because number one, you might change your mind. But two, it might it might secure your decision for you. It might say for certain, right, I definitely don't want to go to university. And so I need to look at my alternatives. I need to look at them seriously. We would always recommend, if you're doing an apprenticeship application, that you also do a university application alongside it, a UCAS application, just because, as we've said, as I keep saying, apprenticeships are really competitive. So we every year have people who want to do an apprenticeship, they don't manage to get one, and they choose to go to university instead. So it's a good backup, and it means that you do your uni application now. You apply for a UCAS, you get your offers. You can always turn them down. Offers that you get through UCAS are just offers. You don't have to go, but it is better to have them and not need them than need them and not have them. Do your research into the sector that you're interested in, how likely it is to get an apprenticeship in that sector, or whether, again, you seriously need a university backup. Book loads of insight days, masterclasses, use the newsletters, use the LaSWAP newsletters, use the individual Key Stage 5 newsletters in schools. Unitasterdays.com. I should have put that website on here, sorry. Unitasterdays.com. Obviously, it's got the word uni in it, but it's not just university stuff. It's got loads of masterclasses and things as well. Again, sign up. But once you do an insight day, they will ask you for your email when you sign up, and then they'll spam you with other stuff that they're doing. That's great. Do all of them. If you do, a day's kind of legal apprenticeship workshop or masterclass online, then they'll send you a link to book the next one. Do it. Get them. Do as much voluntary work, get as much work experience as you can. That's how you meet people. That's how you find out about opportunities. That's how you get your foot in. Read about the sector you're interested in. Tap up people at those insight days and masterclasses and at your work experience as a mentor, because that is usually the best way to get into stuff. Think about, and these are a little bit more general, but really think about what you want your days to look like once you've finished school. If you can't imagine getting up at 6:30 and going and getting on the tube and going and working all day and then coming home and then and not getting home till 6, and then you've still got to go to the gym or do whatever it is you want to do in the evening, then maybe an apprenticeship isn't for you yet. It is something that you need to consider what you want to do, and be really realistic. Be realistic about money, be realistic about time, be realistic about, as I said, what you want your life to look like. And if you're not sure, backup UCAS application. Backup UCAS application and defer for a year. So apply for university, get your offers, and then kick it back for a year, defer for a year, go and work, see if that is what you want to do. Again, we sometimes have people who leave us. They say that I'm not going to university. They leave us, they go and get a job for a bit, and then they come back and they're like, actually, I've decided to go to university. That happens every year. So, that is also fine if you are in year 14. So if you've left and you're doing a gap year, you can always come back to us and ask for help with the university application. That year out can be really valuable in terms of thinking about what you want to do. And it will never ever be a problem for you to take out. It will never disadvantage you for you to take a year out and think about what you're going to do next. So right now, think about these options. Get a pen and a piece of paper and write it all out. Visualize it. Get it out your head. Read up on apprenticeships. Research those roles. Get to those events. Carry on doing your UCAS application. Do it in that Monday period 3. You're in school anyway. So, crack on. Write your personal statement, because you're going to need some kind of cover letter. So you may as well practice by writing a personal statement. Sign up for alerts. Talk to your tutor. Get your tutor to let your tutor know what your plans are. Let your tutor help you. If you want some more advice, book in with your school's careers advisor, or see Miss Tate at LSU. She might not be offering, actually, Miss Tate may only be offering to LSU students from September. So book to see your school's careers advisor. And some applications do open as early as September and October to start in the summer the next year. So if you're in year 12, start looking. Last thing I want to talk about, and it's not about apprenticeships, but it is related to apprenticeships. So bear with me for a minute. Just a little note on university negativity, because I think we're seeing more and more people interested in apprenticeships, which is great. But we're seeing more and more people sometimes not interested in apprenticeships because they really want to do an apprenticeship. They're interested in an apprenticeship because they've heard so much negative stuff about uni. The media this year has been particularly aggressive in terms of university negativity. You haven't been able to move for it. And I just really wanted to talk about that for a few minutes and just kind of contextualize it because derogatory comments about Mickey Mouse degrees and this isn't a real degree and oh, you have to do a degree in basket weaving or whatever have been around since the early 90s. They've been around before I even went to university. Um, and there is an ideological and political component to this. Um, there are there's more to you get more out of university than just the final qualification in that particular thing. So, and there have been, as I say, there've been these accusations around for a long time. This isn't new. KCL, King's College London, did a survey last year, a survey not of King's College students. Their research department did a survey of the general public. And as part of that survey, the public guessed that 40% of graduates regretted going to university. The actual number was 8%. And so they guessed that 49% of graduates said their university debt had negatively impacted their lives. The actual figure was only 16%. So there is this perception, perhaps fueled by different aspects of the media, that university is not worth it and it's not a very good idea to go there. But actually, uni is a very viable post-18 option. It's the best option for a lot of people. So it is something that you should still consider, even if you are thinking about an apprenticeship. Graduates are still far more likely to be in work than non-graduates. They earn more over their lifetimes. And as a university, despite some negative chat, is still viable. So don't worry and don't think that, oh, God, I can't get an apprenticeship and I can't get one soon and I don't know what I'm going to do. And, I can't go to university because it's not worth it. It can be. It's not for everyone, but it can be. There is the link to that study at the bottom there if anybody wants to poke around that anymore. It's quite interesting. So some lovely useful links at the end here. Find an apprenticeship, how to create, there's a little video there on YouTube about how to create an account, search for apprenticeship vacancies, apprenticeship information, general information for young people. This ultimate guide on UCAS is very good. Link to Camden apprenticeships there, local apprenticeships. There's also extra support available. So the Apprenticeship Ambassador Network and the T-Level Ambassador Network both offer support young people applying for apprenticeships, as do the Career and Enterprise Company. They've got a resource directory down there, and there's Skills for Life as well. So there are various things to look at to get a bit of help outside of school. If you are thinking about not something else, go overseas. Some nice gap year providers there if you're thinking about having a little break. And this one here, careergappers.com, that's some nice ideas for gap years at home. So you don't have to go abroad. Obviously, it's nice to go on holiday in your gap year, but you don't have to. There are things that you can do at home. National Careers Service here, some nice information about school leavers schemes. If you are leaving school and you're not really sure what you want to do, there's some nice summaries here. And if you are a young person has an EHCP, an education healthcare plan, then there are supported internships available for those students. You can find out more about that again here at National Careers Service or speak to us at school. Contacts, here we are. That's me. Laura Piercy. Please do email me for slides to ask any questions. If you've got any specific questions about a particular student or a particular circumstance, feel free to drop me an email. I'm more than happy to help. If you want to contact your child's head of year or their director actually at their base school, that link there has got the email addresses on for staff. And there's also our higher education page on the website there. I will just leave that up for a couple of seconds and then I will answer some questions. So we are going to go into the Q&A. If you are done with me for this evening, please do feel free to leave. If you want to stick around for the Q&A, I will answer the questions in a minute or so. Right, lovely. So I'll just work through a couple of these questions first. So, if you're lucky enough to get a degree apprenticeship, do you get the uni benefits like access to societies and sports clubs? Will it feel in any way like a uni experience? No, it won't feel like a university experience. It will feel like a work experience. Things like sports clubs generally run in university time, so often on a Wednesday afternoon, and you won't be able to access them because you'll be at work. So it will not, you will maybe get some access to uni benefits. It depends on the uni and how connected your workplace is. Usually the university is just sort of supplying the qualification basically. So you don't really get that connection. You won't feel like a student. And in answer to the second question, can you apply for student accommodation? No, you can't. You are not entitled to student accommodation as a degree apprentice because you're not classed as a full-time student. So you can't apply for that. It's a good question. If there's a political component to press articles deprecating university, is there a political component to proselytizing for university? Absolutely, yes, of course there is. Universities are, again, it is absolutely true that some universities are financially in trouble. That there are some universities who, post-Brexit, especially with lots of other reasons, are struggling to fill their spaces, and they are looking to get students in. Some of them are doing quite odd things to get students in. You might have seen stuff about, you come and join us and you'll get an iPad or you'll get £1,000 or whatever. Universities are there is pressure. Unis are putting pressure on young people to join. And there is definitely a kind of bunch of people whose interests are in people going to university. So yeah, there's the same from both sides. There's it, it, it is a big political issue. I think obviously I do a lot of work with UCAS. I do a lot of work with universities. Most of our students go to universities, so there is a sense in which I am a definite sense in which I am invested in university. It is a really good choice for a lot of our young people, and for some young people, it feels like it's the only option, which again can be a little bit tricky. But yeah, it is not that it's there are just people disparaging unis and everyone's saying university is great, has everyone's best interests at heart. Absolutely not. It is a really complex situation. It's a complex situation out there. Okay, fantastic. So we are done for this evening. Oh, sorry, I've just got someone who has raised a hand. If you want to speak, I'll just allow you to speak for a second if you want to ask a question. Hopefully that's worked. I think you may need to unmute yourself. If not, feel free to pop your question in the Q&A and I can answer it there. Fantastic. Okay, looks like that's not quite working. So if you do have a question, please do email me, drop it on an email, and I will answer as soon as I can. Should you wish to watch me chat through this again, this will be up on our YouTube channel. And as I said, please do email me for the slides. Lovely. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. Stay cool. And I'll see. This is the last webinar of the year. So if you are a year 12 parent, I will see you next year. If you're a year 13 parent, thank you very much for attending these. And I'll see you at results day. Bye.